Welcome back. After an extended absence, Independent Senator Adrian Auger is back in the Senate. Thursday, Auger gave his thoughts on the recent borrowing of $20 million for the island's COVID-19 response. While he understands that these are exceptional times, the level of borrowing, he says, is worrying. Nisha Charles reports.
Independent Senator Adrian Auger is no stranger to expressing his opinion about the country's affairs. Parliamentarians on either side have voiced theirs about the country's borrowing for the COVID-19 response project, while members on the government side are supporting the decision, saying that it is absolutely necessary. Members opposite are calling it reckless behavior. Outside Parliament on Thursday, Adrian Auger added his 2 cents to the discussion, saying that the trend was a cause for concern.
We're approaching 95% of GDP in terms of the total debt, and that's well beyond the recommended limit of 60 to 65%. We're above developing country average, and while these are exceptional times, I think we need to have a more transparent plan because it has serious repercussions. It has repercussions for the creditworthiness of the country and future borrowing, and it also has repercussions, of course, for government's fiscal space, its agility, its ability to respond to this crisis and any other crisis that may arise, which is unforeseen.
He does, however, believe that the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic is improving.
Because of my work with the Recover St. Lucia initiative, I find that there is more access to information and there is more responsiveness to suggestion. Maybe that was always there, but it's more interactive now, and I think that's a good thing.
On the issue of capital projects, Auger believes that the Huronora Airport redevelopment project is treading on thin ice.
The airport has more than one problem. The airport is a problem of timing as well as a problem of scale. So there may be a way to better program the expenditure so that we have some breathing room. Nobody can predict the future, and so to have that many eggs in one basket, I think, is going to be problematic. It's one of the largest loans that we have ever done. We are a tourism-based destination, and one understands the need to have appropriate infrastructure. But I think that we need to scale that appropriately because we need some breathing room, we need some flexibility, especially in the unforeseen months ahead.
For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Former educator turned Senator Gibeon Ferdinand is calling the move by Education Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert to supply students and teachers with digital devices too little, too late. He says had she realized that the laptop program implemented by the former SLP administration was worthwhile, then she would not be forced to backtrack and eat her words.
Opposition Senator, who is a former educator, Gibeon Ferdinand, is not letting Education Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert forget her infamous words with regards to the laptop program, which was implemented by the previous St. Lucia Labour Party administration and was discontinued by the current United Workers' Party administration.
I hold steadfast in my position and that of my colleagues in the cabinet of the United Workers' Party that it is not enough to give a child a laptop. So as of September last year, we have introduced courses in the schools so that children can have the e-skills, the digital skills, the computer skills, so they can maximize the use of the computers that we will be putting in classrooms throughout the schools versus giving children in Form 3 a laptop. That is the philosophy of the United Workers' Party.
The senator was asked on Thursday morning to share his views on the minister's change of heart now that she has announced that electronic devices will be handed to every student on island to aid with their homeschooling efforts during the pandemic. He held nothing back as he pointed out the government's backtracking.
When the decision was made, or when the statement was made regarding the Kigan Kiasa, I think the minister never retracted the statement. But right now, the circumstances have become so obvious that there's a new argument as to whether it is tablets or e-books versus laptops. There's no argument. The fact is the devices were necessary, and changing the argument and trying to justify e-books and laptops does not change the argument. As a matter of fact, you can access e-books through laptops. So it's really an argument that makes no sense, and I think the government has come to terms with reality, and they cannot get away from the fact that these devices are necessary and that the laptop program should never have been stopped in the first place.
Ferdinand said there is no doubt that the efforts are too little too late. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Now here is public reaction to the recent announcement by the Education Minister that laptops will be provided to students and a number of teachers.
Education Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert recently announced that students island-wide would be receiving free digital devices to aid towards their homeschooling efforts. However, this was met with raised eyebrows by some who still remember Dr. Rigobert's statement with regards to the free laptop program implemented by the previous administration. So with that, we asked members of the public whether they thought the initiative is a welcomed one or whether it's too little too late. Here's what they had to say.
I mean, when you look at what the minister is saying now, what baffles me, and I don't quite understand it, and I think it's got a lot of St. Lucians completely flabbergasted. For a minister who have a doctorate in her field, she did her thesis, and I'm sure she used computer. 3 or 4 years ago, you mean to say that minister didn't have the foresight to say or to see that the young people, the children needed the laptops and the computers? You mean she didn't see that? Now you come in and say that at this stage? But yet, the Labour Party under Dr. Kenny Anthony had the foresight to see that our children needed that, and they made provision. Now you come in and say that? So who you think you're fooling? At this stage, who do you think you're fooling?
Well, to me, it is welcome, because certain times people just make mistakes and they have to correct their mistakes. So what she's talking about, well, I feel she talked good. You know, I feel that's a wise talk.
I think it's not too late, because school closed down. Children need to do the schoolwork at home. They could get a laptop or a tablet, whatever they can use to do it. So I applaud her for that.
The situation with the minister, all I can ask is, how many times have I heard this before? From 4 years now, I'm hearing, and right here on the boulevard, she said, Kigan Kiasa. What, the question is it too little, too late? Anyway, the people of St. Lucia, the parents have been very resilient, and they're continuing to work without the support of the minister, and I just hope they continue to do that and do what is right when the time comes.
It's still not later to give it to them.
Well, you've heard what they had to say. If you want a chance to give your opinion, join us next time when you can have your say. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. It was an emotional return to the Senate for Independent Senator Mauricia Thomas Francis on Thursday. Her son passed away in early October and was laid to rest on the 9th of November. Thomas Francis expressed gratitude to the Senate for support during the trying time. She said her return to the Senate was inspired by her son.
Madam President, a number of family members and friends have asked me why did I choose to come here today, since it is so soon after my recent loss. But Madam President, my son would have loved me to continue life. He was very pragmatic, and the person he was, he would want me to continue to live. So this morning I feel strengthened, I feel energized to be here, to continue to perform in the role which I have been selected to perform.
She continued with her presentation, stating that her contribution will continue to be characterized by honesty and objectivity, and the offering of suggestions were necessary, as she knows no other way to do it. She says repurposing the $54 million EC feeder roads loan for COVID-19 response is a commendable move on the part of the government.
I am on record as suggesting that loans be repurposed in a thrust to appropriately prioritize any social and economic programs of government given the impact of the pandemic on the state and, of course, the state's fiscal resources. Madam, therefore, I really do not have any issue with the repurposing of the loan in question. The terms of the loan are extremely generous, and these are welcome given the need to contain costs, generally and more specifically finance costs in this environment of fiscal strain and limited resources.
She also appealed for the government to utilize funding for the alleviation of issues within the health system. She says having had a son with sickle cell who often had to access hospital services, she is well aware of the shortfalls.
So I can write a book on the situation in our healthcare system. I am very heartened that OKEU has been commissioned and the physical plant is of a very good standard. I believe there's need to use some of the funding to focus on equipment. We do have some equipment, but some equipment do not function, so I think we need to provide some financial support to ensure that they function. Madam President, there's a gap in terms of supplies. Critical supplies are lacking. Basic supplies like morphine, which it's just so critical for administering care to patients. Patients are being, or loved ones are being asked to go and source morphine to bring into the hospital to administer to their loved ones. So focus must be given to ensuring that we procure supplies in a timely manner and adequate supplies to ensure that the healthcare service, or the quality of healthcare that the citizens deserve, that they get.
The senator also drew attention to the critical shortage of nurses and doctors. Health Minister Mary Isaac did note on Thursday that some 700 nurses and doctors would soon be brought in. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.